And then outsourcing your Craigslist ad posting. You know, it's a huge task to take on a whole high-performance Craigslist posting ad campaign and post multiple ads, multiple days, multiple times. But it doesn't have to be you that does it all. There are companies that you can log on to online like elance.com, and you can outsource your posting for pennies on the dollar compared to what you might have to pay to hire somebody to do it here locally for you. So these are some statistics about how long it typically takes to post ads on Craigslist if you're going to have a serious, frequent Craigslist ad posting campaign. It's about 1.5 hours daily, and you need to have 18 to 22 ads daily if you're going to really get the maximum results of this, or variations of the same ad. And so if you outsource it, it can take less than 45 minutes daily, and the hourly rate to offshore this can be anywhere from $2.50 an hour to $6.50 an hour to post Craigslist ads. And in some cases, you can post as low as 15 cents to have people post your ads per ad.
When you're talking about 15 cents, is that somebody over in India?
Yeah.
Philippines you're talking about?
Right. That would be going through one of these, you know, out of the area. Elance is one, or there's a few others out there that you can use. You wouldn't get that rate here locally, you know, but it is available. If you're going to outsource your Craigslist ad posting, here's some things you want to think about. You want to be specific in the number of ads that you require to be posted. You want to visit the outsourcing site and create a free account, and then you post your outsourcing requirements from there. And then you have to just get real that in the beginning you might be more actively involved in your posting and your posting strategies, so that you kind of get the music of this and fine-tune it. And then once you get it dialed in, then it's a lot easier to abdicate that to somebody else that you outsource to. But in the beginning, you're probably going to have a lot more involvement until it gets off the ground and it starts running smoothly. The other thing you want to do is make sure that they have ad templates to use that are in basic text, and usually in this case they'd be low on using the HTML. So in other words, there's some setup here in the beginning where you're creating your templates, but those templates can be reversioned from one ad to the next or one campaign to the next quite easily by just plugging and placing dates and times or product line or whatever it happens to be. Yes. You should have, I see right in front of you by your pens, there's a stapled, no, right, yeah, there you go. Yes, it should be there, yeah. And then you want to clearly define the outsourced task and match that task to the job description. And don't pay for the whole job up front when you outsource. Do a partial payment plan. Make sure that they deliver on what it is that you hired them to do before you pay them the final payment. And then you want to be clear and determine the project completion timeline as well. Have distinct boundaries on that. If you're using an 800 service, you want to have the service support numbers ready in case there are any technical issues that need to be resolved. You want to use a separate email address to communicate with your outsourced team so it doesn't clog up your typical email address that you use day in, day out. And I recommend that you use email when you're communicating with your team, because it allows you to be a lot more clear and specific, especially if you're dealing offshore. There might be language barriers, and it's better to be in writing and using email when you're doing that. So if you're going to automate, whether you do it yourself or whether you outsource it, you want to prepare for automation. You want to make a list of all the products and services that you want to advertise. And I recommend that you have at least 10 different ad templates that you use. And then determine the specific deadline dates and reference your location time zone if you're going to outsource this to somebody that's working elsewhere out of the country or in a different part of the country. And this is pretty obvious, but you want to activate your Craigslist account and supply them with the username and password. And then obviously you want to verify the job was completed prior to sending in the final payment. In other words, the number of ads posted by the project deadline. So this one might be hard to read from where you are, but this is an example of an ad that I was running last year when we were doing the Investor Series seminars. And this is a sample of an ad where I'm not using photos, I'm primarily using text. But in the ad, I'm using multiple call to action. I'm using headlines that compel people to read the ad. I'm using my 800 number so I can track my ads. And I'm repeating that in 2 different places in the ad. And at the bottom, there's a call to action, and when they click through that, that's my registration landing page so that they can sign up an RSVP for the seminar. So this is an example of using Craigslist under the events, community events, to market seminars. So if you were to call that 800 number, what you're going to hear initially is a master greeting when you call in. And the master greeting is going to give the listener a menu that they can follow. So it's going to say, if you're calling about code 401, click here. When they click on or they hit that number, it takes them into a dedicated mailbox for that particular product or service. And so now they're listening to a recorded message that's specific to that product or service. And then there's the same ad. No 800 number in this one, just a click through. So here's how this works. You can use the 800 number in print media, flyers, Craigslist, social media, and for sale signs. So in my case, I have a sign writer at the bottom of this sign, and you'll see on the left side of it, it says 800-462-7895. The property has been assigned to code number 205. So if I get somebody to call this number and they hit 205 when they call it, I know it's 123 Main Street. It tells me that in the report. So that's the 3-digit code. The 4th digit that I use in the print media and online marketing would be the numbers 1 through 9, or actually 1 through 0. And those source codes are what I assign to various ways of marketing. So number 1 might be the Contra Costa Times, number 2 might be Craigslist, number 3 might be Zillow, and on it goes. So when they call 2051, then I'm notified and I know that I'm getting a response from my Contra Costa Times campaign. One of the major benefits of using an 800 system like this is that if you're using print media in any way, shape, or form, whether it's a classified ad or whether it's any type of print media, flyer, is that you can use less copy, less text. You can save a lot of money. You can, in your ad, you can just use compelling headlines and give them just a little bit of information, just enough to get them to get the rest of the information, and make it so that when they call that 800 number, that you have a way of capturing their information. But most importantly for the consumer is that you can actually give them better information and more of it because they call the number. So in other words, we'll go back to real estate because this is how I use it. But if you look in any newspaper, the Chronicle, the Times, or any of these papers, and you're looking at a classified ad, typically how big are the ads that you see in the paper? How much information do they actually deliver? It's usually pretty spare because of the cost. If they call the 800 number, you have an unlimited opportunity to deliver as much information as you'd like. So in my case, I typically take the flyer, the brochure for my property, and that becomes the script for my 800 call, right? So when they're listening to that recording, they're getting a lot more information about the property than they'll ever get from a standard print ad. So you're delivering more value to the consumer, right? The other thing I like about it, besides capturing who called, what they called about, and where and when, because it also captures phone number and times and dates, it lowers the barrier of resistance. So what does that mean? So I recently bought a new car, and one of the things I like least is dealing with car people. And I'm not talking down about car people, it's just the process. Yeah, the process is a little different in style that I appreciate. I like to gather information about what I want to buy before I'm standing toe-to-toe with the salesperson to negotiate. So my way of lowering the barrier of resistance is to go car shopping when all the dealers are closed. So if you see me stalking car lots between 10 and midnight, that's why. It allows me to go look at cars, look at colors, look at the window sticker, kind of do that whole thing and decide what models and all that I want before I'm ready to go to the next level. Actually, I went to a car dealer here at Concord last weekend. It was about 11:30 at night, and I did that. I drove through the lot, found the cars I wanted, got out of the car. About 3 minutes later, over the loudspeaker, the security guy kicked me off the lot and said to come back when the doors were open. So anyway, lower the barrier of resistance. So if you think about that for a minute, you see a real estate sign, and maybe you're not ready or even interested in talking to a realtor yet. What you really want is information. So it says right above here, it says 24-hour recorded information by phone or fax. So what does that tell the person? If they call the number, they're not going to get a person. In some ways, that's exactly what they want, right? They just want the information. They don't want to feel the pressure of being sold yet. They don't want to make that connection, but they want the information. The other thing is that the 800 system allows you to deliver what they're looking for 24/7. So if we took that sign writer off this for sale sign, and the only number they had to call was the office number underneath my name, in order for them to get what they want, they'd have to call during business hours. They'd have to call when somebody's there to pick up the phone. The 24/7 model works really well because that allows them to call whenever, wherever. If they work graveyard, it doesn't matter if their schedule doesn't match the normal business hours. They're able to get what they want when they want it.